What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Thursday night, not Thursday night, Monday night, Airbrush Down and Dirty Tricks, part 2 of the Snowman project. Let's go what day it was. Monday night, we're going to do the wrap-up. Let's see who we got in the house. We're going to bring this thing home tonight and get it done, and then we'll plan a feed for this coming Thursday, what I meant to say. Let's see who we got in the house. We have Michael Stan, what's going on? We got Brian Moore, who has changed his screen name. Very cool. Gary Shees, what's going on? Rob's here. All right, we got a few people in. Thank you for popping in. Hope the sound is good. We are on air. We are recording. And we are on Facebook as well. It looks like it's staying stable. So that's good. And yeah, good. Sounds good. Video's good. Facebook's on. Cool. Like I said, if Facebook goes off, click over the link, get over to YouTube, where all the cool kids are. All right. Let's remind everyone where we were. Get this off here. Hold on. Let's switch up cameras here. All right. We are doing the evil pumpkin. My God, my thing. Jeez, tonight. Maybe I should have had a drink. The evil twisted snowman. We are going to wrap this puppy up tonight. We did last week. We got most of the layout done, showed you how to transfer. We got all the blocking in. Got all the main registration in. Now it's kind of down to the fun. We get the color, the shading, the details, and the background. I'm going to show you a couple tricks tonight. This is incredibly important for guys without a plotter, because we know we do a lot that I use a plotter on, but I've always said this where I say it all the time, and I sound like a broken record, but it's really important that my techniques work with a plotter or without. Very few of them require a plotter. It makes it easier, but you can run the same scenario, you can run the same step-by-step by hand cutting it, just like a piece I did here. And I'm going to show you another trick tonight that is going to make you guys who don't have plotters make your life a lot easier when you have to backmask or countermask something and you don't want to retape it and do it. You want to create like a quick loose stencil on how to do that and get it, pretty much damn near exact. So I'm going to show you that little trick here in a second. So let me switch over here. Oh, before I do, let's give a big December shout out to everyone who supports this channel. All the golden skulls, thank you all for all your support. That's everyone, I think, over a year of constant support, and I really want to thank you guys. I know it seems like a small amount, but that small amount really goes a long way when it's supported by this many people. So I really want to thank everyone. Yes, definitely hit that like button. And if you're not already a member, or you're watching this after the fact, if you join, you can click on that, the QR code in the top, go take a picture of it, or click on the link and join the channel as a member, and that gets you 25% off everything in my store on McKayFineArt.com, which is this place here. There's a link for that. All my projects are found here, and I got some new products coming out we're going to be releasing soon for the hobbyists. We're going to be doing some desks and some portable desks, workstations, and paint holders, and some other stuff like that we're working on as well. So we got a lot going on. All right, let's get to it. Let's show you what we got here. For everyone who's asking what we use here, we are using GraFx colors. We're using a lot of airbrushes, FBS tape, which actually we're not using FBS tonight because this is all just done on vinyl transfer tape and Visionaire, and we use, of course, our fisheye filter. So these aren't paid sponsors. They're not paying me to do these videos. It's all products I use and where I get them. And either if you're in Canada, I go to Maple. If you're in the U.S. or anywhere else, I go through Coast. All right, that's enough of that. All right, let's see. Thank you for doing the fees. Awesome, Mike. I really appreciate that. Let me show you what I got going on here. We'll switch down to the top down. All right, which I think is looking pretty good. I'll make sure we're focused. I changed my camera mount today. I'm going to see if adding this light, let me know if this makes any difference here. Oh, let's see. I don't think that made a difference. Yeah, Okay. Alright, so let me show you what I did here. I have a nice simple paper counter mask that we're going to use when we do the background. So how did I do that easy, without cutting? I missed this little spot here, but I'll show you why. Really easy. So if you've done a hand cut on transfer tape, okay, so you don't have a plotter cut that's going to go right over the top of it, which is what's nice about plotting. You can do like counter mask and recut the same thing, and they always line up, no matter how many times you do it. But if you don't have a plotter, simply take a nice thin sheet of paper. Actually, I'm gonna cut this so it's not as big. Take a thin piece of paper, really thin, and I would probably tape it down. Take your pencil and just do basically a rubbing transfer. Try not to shift it. That's why I would tape it down if I were you. Just take a side of a crayon or a pencil or whatever, and those cuts will show up right exactly where they are. Nice and easy. Like when I did the first one, I didn't do all the way down here, so I missed it when I cut it. And you're just trying to get a silhouette of everything, so you don't need to worry about what's in here. But even if you look, see, some of my cuts were actually so deep that it's actually picking it up. And then you can do your edge. And now you have a perfectly aligned, matching I'll go a little bit deeper. So whereas if we did the transfer where we did the paper and you did the chalk on the back and you transfer the image through, then you hand cut it. Well, your hand cut might be different than your pencil, or wherever you drew. So if you cut this one, it may not line up as exact. With this one, now you can cut this one out and it's going to line up pretty accurate to that. I mean, as accurate as you cut it, or within reason, and that's what I got here. You can see it's going to be perfect. A little off, but that's good because I actually cut it on a little bit of the inline. That way I don't have a registration gap. It'll work really nice if I do it this way. So that is how you make a counter mask or a positive mask. So you positively cover the image and you paint around it. A negative mask would be the outer, where you tape off the negative space around the object you're painting and you paint inside it. I always used to get them flipped, and the way it was explained to me was by the late great Terry Hill, and he said a positive mask positively covers the object that you're positively covering it. The negative is the opposite. So that's how I've always kept it in my head. And if that's wrong, whatever. That's how I keep them straight. So let's get to it. Anyone have any questions on that? Comments? It's a pretty good trick. Works pretty darn well. And yeah. Cool. I like doing it that way. Yeah. Yeah, it works great. It's not something I do often, but I don't think I've ever shown it on a video. I've done rubbing transfers to mirror like flames and stuff. We've talked about that, and I got to do some more videos showing that on like pattern work, but I haven't shown it this way. So let's go, and we will switch up and show you what's happening. So I did a quick thing on color just before I came on. I did a quick short on the colors I mixed up. So if you're curious what colors I'm using, that's there. And that's actually these colors right here. So I got them mixed up and ready to rock and roll. There's a mix of opaque. So I have like opaque brown, opaque lighter color, and then a transparent darker color. An opaque yellow, which is lighter, then transparent orange, and then opaque white, illustration black. Then I have I think it was red, violet, and blue from Wicked. These are both transparents. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a bluish tone in these guys, is the plan. When you have a dark background, do you work light to dark or just... So, I've talked about this. I've never liked the, certain things you work dark to light, light to dark, but I typically work in the mid-tone to start, and then I put in all my other values, and then I carve the details. So the darkest would be last. So it kind of is light to dark, but I don't really go the traditional, do all your light stuff to your darkest stuff. I kind of go back and forth. On a dark surface, yeah, usually that's the case, is I'm going to lighten it up, but I'm going to paint the light, and then I'm going to darken the shadows as we go. So it does change depending on the image, because I do a lot. I don't try to think of it too much as dark to light, light to dark. It's more opaque versus transparent. So I get my opaque colors down and get it blocked in first. And then I'm going to start doing washes and tones and things like that over it. So it just depends how you work. But the darkest details are almost last. And then those brightest highlights things, a lot of times I'll bring in at the end, depending what I'm doing. Mr. Leahy, thank you for coming in. I caught the beginning of your feed, and then I had to pop out and go get some Jersey Mike's. Get some food in me before the show. Alright, so let's talk about what we got going on here. What do I need to do? So I really want to get... I want to get some tone in here. But before I do that, I do want to get some brighter areas so the colors can kind of pop a little bit. So I don't go too far, like... So, with a white background, if you're struggling, it really depends on the image, but sometimes just some texture and shadowing is enough, or just a single color pop and just let it gradiate out is big. It really, it comes down to piece by piece. If you're going to do if it's a really detailed background, a lot of times I do the background first, and then I'll do the foreground image. I'm not sure, like Steve, when you approached, I forget, and what's your thought on that? Like, if you do, like, when you did the car with, like, the diner in the background, do you do the car first in the diner, or do you go the other way? Do you kind of go mid to mid? Like, a lot of times I get the backgrounds kind of roughed out first, and then I put the foreground on top of it. But I don't know if that's a traditional way to do it. So I'm using Illustration Opaque White, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put... like almost like the snow is, bumpy, or maybe melting a little bit. We're just going to get it bright on the edges. We'll highlight these guys, because they're going to get knocked down again too, but I want to kind of get them in there. And maybe we'll put a little texture, use a little Gerald Mendez texture effects to get these coal chunks done. I'm good after throwing Facebook out the window. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, especially when the background is like got a lot going on. I tend to want to get that out of the way, and then I can kind of paint the hero project, which is the foreground. That's kind of how I've always thought of it. So, did Facebook kind of dog you tonight, Steve? So some might ask, highlighting it now is kind of, not stupid, but silly, because you can highlight at the end. Well, I want these highlights to take on some of the color, because it's a transparent, so when I do like the blue wash over it, now the blue over this will be a brighter blue than here. So, and then I can highlight the middle, so I'll get more tone, as opposed to trying to put a softer blue highlight on top of the darker blue. I can kind of work this in now. I'm going to reduce this a little bit more. And for me, Brian, I'm not going to say that's always the case. It does change. Like in this instance, I didn't know what I'm doing for a background. So I'm gonna kind of work that in, but it's in my mind that I'm gonna do kind of a bluish. I'm not gonna do anything crazy, just like maybe a bluish kind of aurora glow, so nothing crazy. But that being known, I want to get a bright blue on this, like it's casting light, so I can kind of have that established. Remember when I did this white too, it wasn't a pure white at the beginning, it was kind of a bluish white. But see, now I can start getting that. Austin Kim. So cleaners, I'm all for it. I pretty much just use water out of the spray bottle and then isopropyl alcohol to clean my acrylic water-based paints. Careful with the term acrylic. A lot of people assume acrylic means water-based. Acrylic doesn't mean a water-based paint because you have acrylic enamels and acrylic lacquers and then acrylic, water-based paint. So when we're talking to water-based paint, I have no issue with it. When I'm talking to solvent, use a solvent. I'll use lacquer thinner to clean my house color stuff. As far as thinners, reducers, I do not recommend a homemade reducer unless you absolutely have to because you're in a pinch. And with Createx or water-based, at that point it is it's used distilled water or deionized water. But the reducer itself, if you followed the changing of the 4011, 4012, 4013, and now the 4021, you realize they all start with that same, distilled deionized water base. There's other additives in there that gets the paint to kick over properly and then cure properly. The problem with the homemade mixes is you don't always get that proper cure. It may flow, but it might not dry like it's supposed to. It might not harden like it's supposed to. It might not bite into the color underneath it like it's supposed to. And on some art, it doesn't matter. It's sitting in the house. But I do automotive custom paint a lot on hard surface. And when you deal with hard surface, you need bonding. You need to make sure that's bonding. And those homemade YouTube recipes are most likely going to fail or could fail. And when they do, or if they do, there ain't nobody around to help you because that YouTuber or whoever came up with it isn't there to say, oh, you should have done this, or oh, sorry, you done this. You're kind of on your own. But if you have to do it with water-based paints, go get distilled water and make sure you let it dry thoroughly before you clear coat it, because you got to make sure that moisture's all out of it, or you're going to have problems. I've had this discussion quite a few times, and if people choose to do it, go for it, but I've been around a long time and I've seen so many paint failures. I've seen paint failures with good product, let alone cocktailed product. And here's the real trick, the reason why, and a lot of people don't realize it, the way water-based, see, solvent-based paint dries a lot of times because that solvent escaping really fast. The paint cures because of that as it escapes. So water takes a long time to evaporate. Water takes a long time to evaporate, so a lot of the stuff that's put in there is designed to cure the paint and dry quickly as it dries or evaporates, because the way water-based hardens, it's by the pH drop. The pH drop itself is what cures the paint. So if you use tap water and you have acidic or too much of a base, it's not going to cure right. So you got to find that balanced pH, so when it starts dropping, the paint cures correctly. Second one question. Pinino Windex. It's a great glass cleaner. You can use it. I don't overuse it. If I do, I try to get the non-ammonia based. because airbrushes are brass and they're brazing. And I know there's been this debate back and forth that it doesn't do much to the airbrush. And I don't think it does much to solid brass chunks, but I do think over time in usage, in a depending on your environment, the brazing and the welds may start getting fatigued over time, and you see bowls breaking and things like that. Is it a cause of the ammonia? I don't know. It's possible. It's just as easy to get. It's just as easy to get the proper stuff and use it, or use without ammonia and just take the gas out of it. But like I said, I don't even use much cleaners. The cleaners, like gun cleaner for solvent, I use lacquer thinner or acetone. Or I like the canned stuff, like XXX gun cleaner is great, and I think Car Rep makes some great stuff as well. I do like those because you're not pouring a ton of lacquer, so it saves money. As far as water-based reducers, so water-based paints, with automotive spray, don't mess around with it. You spray in someone's car, especially color matching, because what happens if you don't get the water to cure out all the way, that car sits in the sun, and if there's any moisture molecules trapped under that clear, it will pop. And that's where a lot of solvent pop does come from. It's from tail solvents, whether it's a water-based solvent, like a water-based carrier solvent, or a solvent-based solvent. Tail solvents or tail chemicals that are still moist are trapped on a hardened clear. What happens is they bake in the sun on a car or a roof or whatever. Well, water hydraulic pressure is amazing. It'll force its way through just about anything, and as that water heats up underneath, it'll pop right through the clear, and that's where you get a lot of pops from. Comment, Jared House, what's going on, man? Great. Automotive, yeah, can't take shortcuts on surface with thinners and canvas. Yeah, on a canvas or paper that's sitting in the house, you can get away with some cheating, and if it works for you, great. When it comes to someone else's work or hard surface stuff with clean, it's so much easier just to use the right stuff and take the guesswork out of it. If something happens down the road, you could call that company and say, hey, I used all your stuff the way it's supposed to be used, and what the F happened? And because if you say, well, I used this, but I mixed in this weird stuff, they'll be like, oh, sorry, the weird stuff did it. So you're on your own. London Paint, what's happening? Is the new reducer 4020? No, the new reducer is 4021. That is a new reducer, and I absolutely love it. It has worked flawlessly for everything. I haven't had any issues with it. So yeah, I love it. The 4012 was great, but it when they changed what happened with the 4012, for what I understand and from some experiences, with certain colors, it was reacting. It was actually separating the paint or foaming it in some cases, depending on the pigment that was in it. Because due to Prop 21, whatever the proposition was, California, they had to take a certain agent chemical out of the paint or out of the reducer. So that changed. When that changed, the 4012 was attacking certain paint lines or certain colors. Not all of them, but certain ones. Like I know in the candies, some colors are fine, but like it would attack the black. So it was just, so they basically discontinued it, and it was 4011, and then they had the 4020, which was a flammable. I know it's really confusing, but if you, Jared, who's just over Facebook, he'll understand. If you work in the auto body industry and automotive, and you don't think it changes a lot, you haven't read monthly tech bulletins, because the stuff changes quarterly, sometimes monthly, yearly. Rules and regs change and products change like the wind. So it's nothing new. It's just we didn't see it a lot in the water-based artwork side, but there was that transition period. So with all that knowledge, let's get to painting. So on the 4021, are you using the same amount? Yeah, I always start with a 5% mix, maybe 10 at the max, and mix and let it sit from there. Remember, water-based paint doesn't quite reduce as fast as solvent. Give it a minute, okay? Like legit, like solvent, you put reducer in there, mix it, it's pretty much done. It's a chemical reaction. Water-based, water molecules are a little bigger, so they take a little bit more time to kind of emulsify the pigments together. So give it 30 seconds. When you reduce it, give it 30 seconds to a minute of mixing. Let it do its thing before you spray it and say, oh, that wasn't enough. Because what happens is, it wasn't enough, and then you put a little more, still not enough, And then after 30 seconds or a minute, it all mixes together and you get like just straight water. You got to give it a little time. Okay? That's my rant, and I'm sticking to it. Alright, so you notice what I'm doing. I'm just bringing up the values a little bit so the color has something to go on. I can bring a little bit on here. Nah, not much, because I'm not going to put much. I put some blue in here at the end. I'm going to leave that. Maybe we'll put a few little strands in here. I gotta be careful with this. I repositioned my top camera a little bit, and I think it's a little further back, so my head, I gotta be careful not to do that as much. Yeah, I don't know what happened to Facebook lately. Like before, I could see the comments the whole time, and they would just stay on screen. Now they're not staying on screen again. And I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so see, yeah, everything's gotten a little brighter. I don't need to go too close here because that's all in the shadows. Let's leave that. And this is where I'll use the lighter color first. So I'm not going to go in. I mix my 4012 my root beer. No, really, don't. No. Steve is kidding. Oh yeah, the brace brushes. Oh, those would be great actually. I didn't even think of that. I mean, I use the dental pick brushes, so it's the same kind of thing. They do help a lot. These guys. Yeah, these guys are great for cleaning nozzles. Yeah, these things are awesome because you can really get in there. And if your bowl is kind of stuck, you can bend them. And here, go to the top down here. So if you got a little stuff in there, you can get in, and you can actually get it all the way to go down the shaft. See, like that, you can really get in there and clean. That's why these work really great. And you can get quite a few uses out of them. Yeah, these are great. Yeah, just, you know, so good for so long, but yeah. Alright, so this is Wicked Blue. It's the Wicked Blue Kid. Steve, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Lyndon Byers from WAAF? If you do, he was a Bruins brawler for a long time. But every year I do some work for him because his son's a goalie, so I usually do his son's goalie mask. And every time he calls me, I hear, "What's up, kid?" It's just so iconic the way he says it. All right, so I'm going to use this blue, which is, you got to see kind of how bright this is. I'm going to not get it on there. A little overspray is not going to be a problem here because that's going to be mostly dark brown, so I don't have to worry too much. But if you're concerned, you can mask it off. But if you watch, I'm just gonna tint, and it can be over the black too. Because remember, this blue is coming from a light source, which is going to be the background. Alright, so I'm just hitting it. I'm going to go darker in the mouth. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this with purple as well. But I'm basically using this instead of using black as my shadow color. And then I'll go even darker with purple. Then I'll put a little black in at the end, but not much. You could also do this with a candy, but it's not needed. Really, I'm trying to stay off the yellows where I'm trying to stay off. And you can even put some on the hat and that skull. If you remember the Jack Skellington I did, was it 2 years ago? I used this color value and it worked out really, really great. Alright, Pierce, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in. So we're just going to hit that blue. Yeah, it's funny, depending what screen I'm looking at, because I have like 4 screens here. Like some of them, the blue looks muted, and some it doesn't. And I use almost nothing. So at the purple at this point, I just kind of I usually just spray the majority out, but you don't have to go full clean. You can just do a quick wipe like that, and a little blue could be left behind. And you pour it in, they'll intermix, and that's fine because you're going to intermix on the canvas. So see, now it's getting a little bit more purple, but you got to let it mix. You took a little bit because it's got to get through here, through here, through here. So definitely purge it out. All right, so now I'm going to go in my shadow areas, like here. And let that get a little bit more purple. And we're going to bring those whites up back up at the end, so he's not going to be a blue. He's not going to be a blue snowman. Blue snowman. We can get under that hat a little bit, get in those eyes, and just kind of get that set up. And we can actually use this as the shadow color. Oops, I just blocked that out in that camera. Sorry about that. I'm going to switch over to that one a little bit, I think. Yeah, I think this camera's going to get repositioned at some point too. Uh-oh. That camera just dumped. Okay. Oh, there it goes. Stop messing around. Let's just do that. Alright. So, that's cool. I can put a lot more purple on this side, the darker side. When I used to work in the t-shirt days back in the malls, you used a lot of these colors for that t-shirt pop. And, you know, something like this, I want that kind of cartoon t-shirty pop like we used to do at the malls and the beaches. That's what I'm really going for. And let's bring the brown. I want to get a lot of this in. This is the brown, and the brown, I'm actually going to mix the brown with a little bit more purple because it'll darken it. Instead of adding black, it'll be less dead. Is that opaque? Is which opaque, Brian? The purple and the blue were transparents, not opaques. Alright, so I took the same brown I've used before, which was just a wicked brown. I added a little purple to it. Now, what that's going to do, it's going to make it a darker brown without going flat, okay? And it's going to be a much more natural shadow color. Whenever you're in browns or oranges, you want to start darkening it, and you have a limited palette, add a little purple to the brown instead of black to darken it. You can still add black if you need to, but I would add more purple than black and kind of mix them together. I'm doing this now because I want to get it a little dark on the edge before I unmask this. Oh, and then we'll talk, we have a bid still on this. The current bid is from Gary at $150. But if anyone's interested in this, we can obviously keep taking more. I know it's tough with the holidays coming. That's also why I'm doing live feeds. Actually, it's funny, we are starting to jam up with motorcycle work, so if any of you guys watching are some of my customers for motorcycles and you're interested for this winter season, this winter's almost filled up already to guarantee for spring. So, which is what I like to happen. I like to have most of my spring locked in basically by December, so I can kind of plan. Because I know winters seem long, but for motorcycle painters up here in the Northeast and car guys, winter's when we do all these projects because they can reuse them all summer. And so we get a lot of stuff done this time of year, like going into winter. And the customers tend to leave us alone a little bit because they can't use their vehicles anyway. So they tend to kind of not forget about, but we get a little bit more time. But that being said, I start stacking up, and it wasn't too crazy until I got back from SEMA the week after. And it was the week after the election, and people kind of calm down and figure out, now they know what's going on. They kind of figure out what they want to do and spend their money or not. But I just started getting a lot of calls right after. So. What do you mean, do I showcase? As far as doing motorcycle shows and stuff, yes. Not like I used to. I used to do a lot of them, but COVID put the crunch on most of the events up here, so I used to do like 4 summer shows, like just one-nighters, like cruise nights, and those, the good ones went away. We used to have the Autorama World of Wheels, where the last one got killed during COVID. It's never been back. We used to have the Motorcycle Expo, which was like 3 a year in the area. They went out of business. So, not like I used to, but I used to have a big 20 by 20 or 20 by 40 booth setup that I would set up just if I was showcasing cars or bikes. Depends what I was doing, but I haven't done that in a long time now. I do miss it. There may be one coming back, but I got to look at the cost and see if it's even worth it. So we're using that darker brown. Yeah, so like I used to my first live streams before I was doing this weekly thing, I would live stream from the shows and paint live at the shows. That's where a lot of this started. Actually, Steve, are you still here? I want to talk about something we used to do back in the day. So I was the first one to do it, but there was not many people doing it up here at the shows. So I started doing live airbrush demonstrations at the shows and taping things out and just kind of showcasing it. And did it for a long time. And so I used to just paint cool stuff or whatever, and just whatever came to my head, or I'd plan some things. And this one show, way back in the day, I want to say, I mean, I'll have to look at the date. It was a long time ago. We'll look at it and find out. I gotta see if Steve's still here first before I do this. Steve, are you still here? Okay, so back in the day, as Steve remembers, I used to paint live. And sometimes Steve would come by and hang out in the booth, stuff like that. And one show, I'm going to look at the year here, in 2006, I think Steve knows what I'm going to show here, we decided to do a painting that I painted in a little image, and then he painted an image next to it, but it had to connect. And then I painted an image, and he painted an image, and then people watching would yell something out, and we'd have to paint it. But the key was you had to attach it to the last thing painted. So he did this. I'm going to zoom way out for this. So this painting was a collaboration between me and Steve Leahy in 2006, where we spent the better part of a night going back and forth, like 5 minutes to 5 minutes, 5 minutes to 5 minutes, and we did this. We did this painting. So if you look really close, remember this, Steve? This is from 2006. It's almost 20 years old. It's coming up on 19 years old, almost to the date, because we did this in January of 2006. My nephew Michael had it for years, and he moved into a new house. He didn't have any place to really put it, so it kind of came back. And so I remember I started with the skull, into the skull, and then, look, cowbell, put the cowbell in. I think someone yelled that out. And then someone said cheeseburger, and Steve did cheeseburger, fries, and a drink. And then Homer, and then pumpkin, Patriot symbol, another skull, mines underwater, like a gremlin, a dragon, the moon, a Death Star with little teeny TIE fighter, and X-Wing. Snake, Coop eyeball, the bear, intestines, bugs. Someone yelled out a plug, an outlet, so Steve did the outlet, I remember right. Then we have the dice, engine with a blower. What else we got in here? Yeah, I said pumpkin. That was my early days tag demon. I don't know what this is over here. Oh, I think I know what this is. I'm not going to say what that is on camera. Bullet holes, of course. And there's my signature. There's Steve's. Yeah, so that's a little piece of history right there. This is about a 20-year-old panel. It's on at the World of Wheels Auto Robber show. Very long time ago. Yep. Pretty cool. Definitely got to put that in a frame and hang that up. Yeah, it's funny. But yeah, that's what we used to do at the shows. It just, people just watch and yell stuff out. It was fun. Yeah, that's an oldie. Let me get some Zans, get back in here. Let's see how that color's starting to pop nice. Oh, the memories, Steve. We were so much younger then. Okay, yeah, so this is that black. Like I said, this is that purple mixed into the brown. I'm going to darken it one more time after this, but I can start carving these hands a little more. Put the lower digits a little darker. Get that stick. Right, now we do this side. That was when I didn't have gray hair either, and I still had hair on my head. All right, I'm going to turn this because I want to crispen this out a little bit. So I'm just going to find the curve, and for some reason, the Essential 7 still always work. Just going to pop that in there. What's your favorite thing to paint as far as... I don't know. It's such a hard answer because it's usually whatever I'm working on that day or that week, and by the time I'm done with it, I'm sick of looking at it and I want to do something different. The simple answer, I love painting skulls, and I'm not going to lie about it. They're just fun to paint. It really changes. I do like to challenge myself a bit and do something a little bit tricky to see if I can pull it off, and sometimes that's a lot of the challenge. Like, can I actually make this happen? I don't mind being a little scared sometimes. Like, I'm doing I think a 60, I forget what year, GT500 I'm working on this week, later this week. On a 60, it might be a 65 or 66. It's not the 67, it's before that, I believe. So I'm doing a hood mural on the inside of a really awesome GT500 I'm a part of. So I got that coming this week. That's going to be a big like snake inside under the hood and some fire, and really cool. That one's going to be my favorite. So sometimes I like to just paint like just random. I love just like that painting that me and Steve worked on. That's some of my favorite stuff to do, is just messing around, coming up with something out of the blue and just pulling it off. I can tell you ones I hate, and I've mentioned a few before. There's a few styles I despise. Not despise, I just don't enjoy. I never have a good time painting them. There's always been issues with the I think it's more the customer base that wants them. See if anyone remembers when I talked about what I don't like to paint. It's going, haven't I? I think it was a bunch of silver skulls. Oh yeah, there was that one, and then there was one that was all the silver skulls, and I did candy red over it. Done that quite a bit. It's funny, I've been updating my website, and I'm working on getting a bunch of portfolios ready that I haven't put up on the site yet, but going through, starting to try to come up with different names for Red Skull Bagger, because I did so many candy red baggers with different things. Anglerfish, yeah. Yeah, the skeleton anglerfish was cool. That was fun. I do love painting my koi fish. I do. That's kind of my favorite. You know, that style, that kind of Japanese, Chinese-inspired koi. You know, and I love kind of mixing that theme together with other stuff, like more tattoo style, and then doing other stuff like that. So I do love that. Alright, so I think this is probably good enough where I can, I think, do the background now and then the finals. Where are we on time? An hour, not too bad. Do you ever use projector? Yeah, I've used projectors. Actually, I think for this Cobra one, that's probably how I'm going to do it. Because I've done a lot of the render work in my iPad. And I'm going to do most of this freehand on the inside of this hood. So I think I'm just going to bring my projector, plug my iPad into it, throw it up on the inside, and then just sketch it with a piece of chalk, and then freehand it from there. I think that's going to be the plan. So I do projectors once in a while. I did a video a while ago, I should bring that up, on how I projected. I did digital concept projecting too, where I projected, I've been asked to do a samurai a couple times, and it's definitely something I'd like to do. Sometimes the live feed stuff is, if I can't pull it off, if it's too slow, like it requires too much time to get it really perfect, I don't do it on a live feed because it's too many variables. So like, I don't want it to be too cartoony or too boring to watch. So that might, like a samurai project might be better as an instructional video where I paint it over time and record and then edit it down to more manageable stuff. And I got to start doing more of that, but I just haven't. I just transferred a picture to Paint for a gift. And I have a time getting it to move over and scale. Yeah, it can be a little tricky. Depends on the projector size and the image type and things like that. I try not to overuse it, meaning... I don't need that right now. I only use a projector when it's a fairly simple thing. So I can just register it in and I can do a lot more freehand. Anything more than that, then I get more structured. Alright, so I'm going to pull all the masking. Remember, this is all hand cut, no plotting in this one. So, I mean, it looks cool as it is. You can almost get away with a couple highlights and be done. And that could be cool by itself. But we're gonna do a nice simple background. Maybe like a little swirling color. Blue, I think. You know what? I'm gonna mix up a lighter blue, I think. Did you ever remember to pull the film off the... Yes, I did. Yes. That only happened at SEMA. It's happened once before, a long time ago. The nice thing about this stuff is, when I don't have a board here in front of me, it's a white film that has writing on it, so you know it's there. The stuff we had at SEMA, it's clear film on the black. And some of the pieces are so clean, or on the white, you don't even see it's there. Because if it's done, it was put on there so well. So that's what happened with that one. Yeah. I'm sorry if anyone's watching on Facebook, which I don't think there is. Jim Wood, still well looks amazing. Cool, thanks, man. I'm just not... The messages come and go so quick. Let's see. So now we're good. We got this there, and oh, I wish. Damn it. Yeah, I'm gonna look for something in my drawer, and while I'm doing that, for those who didn't see it last week, I'm gonna show you the video of hold on. Yeah, I'm going to bring up this video because I want to show you. There's another trick I want to show you. I need to step away for one sec. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this was how I sketched the snowman. That's done in Procreate. Let's see if I can find a hole punch. There's a reason for that. Nope. Figures. Alright, sorry about that. Oh. I'm not going to do fire. I could, but no. No, what I was going to show you is, and I don't have it here, is, so if you put this here and you don't want it to blow around, if you have a little hole punch, like a single one, you go click, 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 what you do, and I'll just cut a couple little squares so you can see. If you can't magnetize it, like if you're not on a metal panel, just basically cut some holes. That's where the hole punches come in really nice. Because you can get those single ones. So cut a few holes in it. And then what you can do, because you have holes, you can line it up and just take little pieces of tape. Yes, I did. Thank you. So once you have it lined up, you can just take the tape and just put it on those holes, and now that'll hold it in position. Again, these are some nice old Illustrator tricks for doing this when you didn't have plotters. Oh, and people did, but they were really expensive. Now you get a plotter for nothing. Early first-gen plotters were like 30 grand. All right. So I am going to mix. I'm going to grab a lighter blue. You know what? Let's grab. All right. So see, now it's not going to move on me. I'm going to grab this. This is Wicked Opaque Daylight Blue. I'm going to get this as my ground. My ground color. I'm going to make it snow a little bit. I'm going to add a little white to it, make it even lighter. And let's just do kind of a wispy. We're going to get a nice bright glow. And it's going to look probably white on your screen. We'll give it like kind of like an aurora-y kind of look. I've actually never painted one of these, but it's just more like ribbons. There's soft dagger strokes kind of coming up. Oh, good. Yeah, it depends on, like, so one of my screens, when I first started, it looked almost white going down. Good. Good. Good, good, good. Gerald! Howdy, sir. Now I'm going to use this purple. Doing a fun little snowman here, Gerald. So I'm going to put a little purple. I'm going to darken that up. I'm going to do that really near his face because I want to make sure It's darker there, so I want his face to pop. So we'll just get a little purple going. Then we'll do some blue, we'll do a little snowflake, and then we'll highlight this thing. Just really simple. Just I'm not trying to do a crazy background. Sometimes just a simple color pop background is just enough. It's just enough as I... Oops, Jesus Christ. Get some blue back in there. Now to go to a lighter color, I take more out. So I'm going with a lighter, I'm going from a darker purple to a lighter blue. So the purple will overpower the blue pretty fast. So I gotta get more of it out before I do a quick change. Alright, so now we'll get that nice blue. I'm gonna tone that. Okay, so now we're going to bring the white in, then we'll go back over with this blue. And we'll get that nice pop. So I'm going to do the flick, where we're just going to pull back on the trigger and then hit it. So I'm just going to pull it back on the trigger once, and then hit it with air. And we'll do kind of a little quick snow effect. And you can also do it in the first time I ever saw it done was Gerald was going, we'll just fortuitous these here, which is going super low. I'm not sure my paint's thin enough to do this, but he went down to like a pound of air. Yeah, and then he just controlled and just a little, just like that. It was the coolest thing. I'd never done it, and I watched Gerald do it, and I'm literally probably like 2 pounds of pressure. So definitely works better with a gravity gun, and it just, you can get some really nice effects. Like you can't even hear the air. I'll never forget seeing that. I think, oh, Gerald, I think it's the first time I saw you doing it, you doing the Voltron piece that we did, that you were working on during one of the rendezvous. It's you got to play with it. Now, it's very key. These blobs are really wet right now, so if you blow air at them, they're going to go, they're going to spread like crazy. So, air dry them. Like that one's good. I want to reduce my paint a little more. And we'll make some of these brighter. Actually, before I do that, we can actually do another. We'll blue tint them just a little bit. Yeah, and I think at the end I'll put a few snowflakes in the foreground over him as well. So we'll pick a star, we'll make that one a little brighter. Maybe it's star, maybe it's snowflake, we don't know. Not too many of them, just find one you like. Just give it a little extra glow. And give it that kind of Aurora feel. So it's got a happy Aurora behind the evil, twisted. Hey, he's not evil. He's just... It's getting hotter. He's starting to melt. He's not happy about it. His smile turned into a scowl. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, if you use the Micron, which I'm not... Is this one? No, this is the Eclipse for the blue. But the white... Yeah, if you take the cap off, you take the nozzle cap, it'll... That's a little too much pressure. But you can get it to do the same, do something similar. Definitely get a feel for it first. Or you could do the popsicle stick trick, or you could do the little straw trick. You can do all sorts of stuff to get those effects. I was gonna put a little green in the Aurora, but I can't. Now Gerald's here. And maybe we'll add some at the end. Alright, let's see what we got here, and we'll see what we need to balance out. Yeah, so... You know what? I think around the... I want to get a brighter glow. Off the... That way his hat really pops some more. All right. Okay. Now we can get the bright and really start to pop him out. We'll do some final color and dark, and we'll be good. We'll brighten up that skull. Highlight the eyes. Then we'll bring the dark in here. Yeah, well, this is the time where the control matters a lot more, and you can overdo it or mess it up really big at this point, but it's always fixable. Every professional will tell you the difference between a professional and amateur is a professional knows how to fix their mistakes. I used to use a more colorful choice of words, but we're trying to stay on line. Yeah, I gotta move the camera so this stops happening. The camera's gotta push in more. So I'll rework that tomorrow and get that corrected. A little extra white line. This is just, right here is a little gap. You can see the black. We'll just highlight that away. We'll highlight that away. You can get some stray pieces here. It's cool. Now once I get the final darks in here, then I'll come back to this white. Alright. Oh, I see Facebook frozen. Is Facebook frozen for anyone over there who's also here on YouTube? Because it looks frozen on my end. But sometimes it could just be my screen and not everyone else's, so I'll leave it up. But if it's frozen, let me know. Because my hand's on the screen on Facebook and it's not. There's a couple of lines I'm not happy with, like here, it's alright. So I'm going to take my black, which is also mixed with purple, because I like to do that, and we all know this. And the cool thing about mixing it with purple with this, right? It's so frustrating. And I was thinking it was because I was using my personal page, not the business page, but Steve, you're using your business page, you're still doing it, right? Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to kill it. Hopefully it's not frozen. Okay. Okay, so I think we're still here, or is it frozen on this screen too? Is my video seized? Oh, nope, there we go, okay. Alright, so I got the black mixed with purple, which is going to do two things. It's going to blacken all this. Really nicely. Not that you can see because my damn head was in the way. It's kind of been the problem we've been having for so long with Facebook, and I don't know why it's almost. And I'm wondering. I know I was talking with Sean at London Pen, and he was talking about some of the apps you can go through to stream on multiple platforms. I'm almost willing to bet if you go through one of those platforms, it goes stable. And that's probably because of a paywall. That's the conspiracy theory in me. Alright, so now I'm taking this thin down purple-black mix, because if you look at it, you can see it's got that purplish cast. I'm going to go more purple when I go into here. But right now, I want to get these eyes. get them really dark. So you see how that just punched them in? I can also do the hat. You kind of create that hard shadow, like the light's coming in and creating that hard edge right there. London, when you get ready for that, make sure you post the link to me, and I'll share it. So we'll get the skull a little bit, more detailed. Not micro details like Steve, but just keeping it small, keeping it tight. Mike Manning. Thank you, sir. Oh my. Huh. I'm missing some of my sounds. That was weird. I don't have my ka-ching ching. Huh. Always something different going on. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Alright, so now that's done. I can use that same purple black to define these a little more. Get inside the pipe. And then I want to lighten it up a little bit so I can do the face. I don't want to use this in the face. It's going to be a little too dark. But now I can, I can hit this knuckle and that pushes that back. Get the back of the arm roughed in, push back a little bit more. This is where I could spend hours just doing little details and really just punching things. Like watch right here, see how this looks kind of flat? And now if I do that darken the palm area, now it starts to bring that more forward. Let's see if it shows a little bit better on the 3/4 cam. Yeah, it's a little bit better lighting on that one. Put some wood graining in there. What is the bid? We are at 150, sir. This is a 9x12 painting, aluminum panel. We're gonna definitely figure out a feed this week. This one will probably this one and the one this week probably the last feed, because I want to get this out by the holidays. And the other two paintings I have to go out. We finish off the year with nothing left behind. Oh yeah, it's all those little details. And I can go back in, do some highlighting. Yeah, this is one of those, you know, if I wasn't trying to do this in like 2 hours, the next hour, you know, I'd slow down. I'd maybe do some other color. I'd probably bring some more details in. It really just depends. In a lot of these paintings, after I'm done, I go through and do a little extra work. Make sure it's really fleshed out. Alright, so let's dump a lot of this out. Now I'm going to add some more blue to that black. Reduce it some more. So I'm doing 90% of this with an eclipse. So Gary has raised to 175. Thank you, sir. Alright, so now I got more blue black. So now I'm going to go through and we'll carve inside this mouth a little bit more. We'll push this back a little deeper. See, now that pushes that back, but if I use black, it would just be like it would just go too flat. Don McKay, thank you, sir. Don't you have enough cold weather up there? You want a cold painting? Thank you, Don. So now I can kind of carve out where these teeth would be a little bit more. Give a little bit more detail. But if I use black here, a lot of beginners, and I was too, I made the mistake, I'd use black here, and it would just kill the look of it. We can shadow into here, maybe do a couple little indentations. Darken under here. Now it'll lift off that head a little bit more. You can do a couple little indents. Shadow under those. Just really start inside these eyes. Some little like puckers in the snow in the head. Just a little bit. Honestly, man, it is timing the brush, getting the reduction in air pressure right, and moving. You know, it's really about getting in there and moving, like keeping your motion, keeping your air on, and then just doing nice little lines and speed. It's trigger control, but a lot of it's getting your paint reduced right, I'm gonna say it. I strain all my paint. Straining the paint has been my biggest key, especially with water-based. And if you got paint that's been sitting around a while, you definitely need to do it. You mix it up. Like, if Gerald's still here, I've seen what Gerald does with his black and his whites or his colors, how he mixes it and how much reducer to paint, and I'm sure he does a little straining and a couple other little things, and then you get it just right. And once you get it just right, you paint. I'm going to do some little, just basically, I'm doing some core shadows to it, but let's see if I can show it. I wonder if I bring my, there we go. So I'm going to just do a little bit of like wiggles, and I'm very light. Basically, I'm doing dagger strokes from far away, and just kind of letting it create a little bit of turbulence. In here, all right. What happens, the paint doesn't come out when you think it should, is a couple things. A, you might have a little dry paint on your nozzle on here, so always make sure it's clear. You can pull that off and just, I got a little bit of paint right there. Pull it off. Check there for one. But if you have any debris here, your paint's not thinned, it's not gonna come out right. Make sure your vent hole is clear. That's two. And then you got to be sure about your trigger pulls. Gary's dropping the hammer. And my soundboard is not coming on. Thank you, sir. Yeah, the biggest thing is thinning the paint, your pressure. And then if you constantly wiggle your trigger back and forth without pulling paint out, or you keep doing this, sometimes you get dry paint in the needle. If you keep that airflow and you pull that trigger back and close it, more like, I don't want to say confidently, but I kind of do. If you're not shy about the trigger, it just, once the paint wants to flow, it'll just keep flowing. But if you do this and then stop and then not right and stop, and you walk away from it, now you just get a little dry. Now it isn't as clear, but it's just practice. I mean, it is practicing air pressure. Like, I'm at 35 psi. I'm pretty thin. I could go a lot thinner. Like, if I wanted finer than this, I'd thin it even more, and I might even drop the pressure a little bit. So, yeah. Yeah, if you're too cautious, sometimes you get, like, you're too shy on the trigger, and then you end up getting dry, tip dry. And it's not a paint problem typically. I mean, sometimes it is. But I'm going to tell you, get yourself one of these paint thinners. Like, if you want to go really thin, these were great. Or like the ones I made. The metal. I don't have one here handy in front of me, but these guys. Making these quick strainers, which I did a video on. These take any chunk that's out of the paint that might cause a problem. Okay, so now I'm going to use a bright white. I'm going to bring these eyes up. Get the mouth brighter. See, now we can just start bringing all this stuff, that highlight, really just pop it out. I think I need to thin it even more. Yeah, you'll get it. It's like playing an instrument. And I, hate to be the cliche that, yeah, it's practice, but man, that's really just a lot of it. I mean, me, Gerald, and who's taught, we've all taught, and people struggle with an airbrush, and we come over and we paint, and it just works. And it works because they kind of know how to pull the trigger and just really let it fly. So some of it does come down to just confidence and that kind of practice. But it comes. I said it the other day on a post. So just remember, today is the worst you'll ever be at that technique, because the next day you'll be better, and the next day you'll be better again. So every day you're struggling with something, remember that you're only going to get better from that day forward. So that's the worst you're ever going to be at it. At least I like to think of that way. So I didn't follow that one, so I'm sure it must be something from Steve's feed. Or something I'm missing. And this way you can take some edges, and so that little line work there, I could just give it more of a glow. See? That little bit there. On the hat, I can come down and just bring that. Helmet up. So we'll do a little highlighting around here, a little rough edge. A little white line this guy a little bit more. And just kind of having fun with it. I think this one, Gary, I know you let me be the judge typically, but I think a little blue pearl over this one might be cool. Give it a little extra sparkle. And then I should make that. Right, we'll give that star a nice little starburst. Yeah, the needle is big. Make sure it's nice and straight. Like if that needle touches that surface once and drags, you're forever lost that detail. You can polish it straight, but it definitely is a little tricky to do. Invest in some parts. Let's put a little yellow. Some orange in there. There we go. Now we'll get the orange. A couple of things, and we'll wrap this puppy up. Right. Yeah, it's never fun. Keep the nozzle cap on till you get comfortable, because it will save your needle. A lot of us paint with it off, and it's really just so we can get a hair closer, where you can see the tip. Or a lot of us just do it from remnants of the day when we had to keep picking the needle because the paint would always dry on us. Whereas a newer paint doesn't, but we still do it. Get him nice and bright over here. It's a fun cartoon holiday painting. I'm digging it. Make it really bright behind that hat. Get a big glow. Over there. I think around this hand needs a little more glow. Nice. That gives it some nice pop. And I think we'll break out my pens here. Line this guy up. Probably the second to last painting of 2024, guys. We're going to clear this up, take a look, maybe add a couple little details, and we will send this to the awesome home of Gary Shees. Let's, I want to thank everyone for popping in. That kind of wraps it up. I'll do a couple little tweaks, little adjustments. Maybe I'll take some little brush work and just do a couple little... Maybe I'll do that now before I close off. Yeah, this brush is good. Yeah, so we can go in and do some brush work and just do a couple little things. A couple of happy brush strokes. Now it's mixed media. A little extra fun for the hell of it. Alright guys, hey, appreciate you checking in on last Thursday's feed and this wrap-up. I'll come up with an idea for this Thursday, which is probably the last feed before Christmas. One of the last feeds, I'll figure out from there. Got a bunch of projects coming up. So I hope everyone has a great week coming up this week. Start getting all your stuff done, get your house decorated, all that stuff. Happy holidays to everyone. Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever you're celebrating. Peace. Have a great night. Talk to you soon. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for everyone checking it out and liking it, subscribing, sharing it. All that stuff helps this channel grow and grow. Have a great night, guys. Thanks.